What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show. We discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. And remember, the new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, today is my son Julian's fourth birthday. Yep, he just turned 4 today. He was on in the video late last night, and he will be on later today here for a special birthday appearance. So make sure to stay tuned here later today. We got a lot to talk about here today. We have some information from Senator Joe Manchin here about the new version of the Build Back Better package and other Democrats about passing multiple different things here, including student loan forgiveness and a bunch of different things here. As election time is looming, and well, there's a lot of things here, including potentially letting Ukrainian refugees in the United States. In fact, recent polls show that it's actually higher than ever. Um, Americans are actually for this. So there's a lot to talk about here today. Let's jump right in. First, we will hear from Congressman Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California. Here's what he has to say.
You've only got about 12 legislative weeks, I think, left until the August recess. You can check my math if it's wrong, but are you satisfied that leadership in both chambers feels the urgency sufficiently to get this done before it's too late to matter politically for Democrats?
Yes, I mean, first we're going to get the Competes Act through. That's a big deal. Not enough folks are talking about it. It's led to Intel putting $20 billion into Ohio, creating manufacturing, construction jobs. We can tell the story of economic renewal. We can also get this climate bill to the president's desk. And then I think that Senator Warren is right. There are a lot of things this president can do through executive order, including, by the way, capping some of the high costs on prescription drugs. The president should take 3 to 4 bold actions, student loans, prescription drugs, that show the American public is doing everything to lower prices. You know, that was part of FDR's success. He took action, bold, persistent action. We need to be a government in motion addressing people's concerns.
And Democrats are pressing hard for more student loan forgiveness. You can see here, Democrats press Education Department over plans to help student loan borrowers in default. There's multiple different plans in the works here, largely being led here by Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren. There's been a lot of talk over this here recently, as they have just extended the pause for student loan payments until August 31st if you have federal student loans, which is about 95% of all student loans. You can see the details here. Democrats are pressing the Department of Education for more information about plans to address the status of borrowers in default once the federal student loan payments resume in the coming weeks, which is at the end of August. This is because the agency said earlier this month that it would allow borrowers with paused loans to receive a, quote, fresh start when resuming payments by eliminating the impact of delinquency and default and allowing them to re-enter repayment in good standing. And we're trying to figure out what that means. The agency said the move would be carried out as part of its efforts to help borrowers transition more smoothly into repayment after federal student loan payments and interest accrual were paused for more than 2 years under a pandemic freeze. In a letter to the agency by Senator Elizabeth Warren and Raphael Warnock and Cory Booker and Senator Bernie Sanders, among others, the lawmakers said the move could provides significant relief to millions of borrowers, particularly those who have most struggled with repaying their loans. So this is a new type of, stimulus type measure. Remember that the student loan payments were a stimulus measure that goes all the way back to 2020, paused by former President Donald Trump, and they've been repaused. I think it's like 7 or 8 times now, and are now paused until August 31st. This is for over 40 million people here in the United States. So this is a significant thing. The average student loan payments is around $500 a month. I think it's 480 or $500 a month. Each person's different, of course, but that's about $5,000 a year. Okay, $5,000 or more a year. So it's a lot. It's a lot of money, and when you got to think about when people go to start repaying this, depending on how much their particular student loan payments are, it's going to be a lot of money, an extra 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, however much money each person's paying per year going to those student loans is going to be a lot of money. And the president has already done, President Biden, $18 billion of student loan forgiveness since he came into office. I'll show this on the screen here so everybody can see this. Here's an article from Forbes here from a few days ago. Biden has canceled $17 billion of student loans. The White House representative says it's 18 billion now. So uh, whether it's 17 or 18 billion, who knows what the exact number is? I mean, we're splitting hairs between a billion or so, right? But that is what the White House economic advisor said, 18 billion. Forbes says it's 17 billion. But they have canceled or forgiven about 17 to 18 billion dollars, mostly for people with permanent disabilities, disabled Americans, people where their schools defrauded them or closed on them. The schools literally went out of business and left the people high and dry, as well as people in the public service forgiveness programs that had fulfilled their duty to get student loan forgiveness in the past, but never really got it. Okay, that program's been going on for a while, and Biden kind of said we need to really kind of make this program work better. So they've kind of done that. So if you think that you might qualify for any of these, some of this is automatic and some is not. Okay, you may actually qualify if any of those things I said might pertain to you. Just go to Google and type in student loan forgiveness. Yeah, go to Google, type in student loan forgiveness. Be careful here. You don't want to go to somewhere you're not to. Scroll down here to like the first or second result and go to the government website, studentaid.gov. See that right there, the official government website? Click on that, and when that loads here, you'll see that it's an official government website, and you'll see right here, I'll zoom it in here for you. In certain situations, you can have your federal student loans forgiven, canceled, or discharged. Learn more about the types of forgiveness and whether you qualify. A lot of people don't know this, but you can have it, especially if you fall underneath those certain circumstances. And you can see here, are you looking for loan forgiveness or discharge forms? But trying to figure all this stuff out might be it might take you some time. You might need a degree to figure all this stuff out. So, but that's where you would go to find this stuff. And here's an interesting thing, just to see kind of how people feel on this. Most Americans support federal action on student debt, according to a new poll. The poll found that nearly 85% of Americans under 30 favor some action. Some action. A survey released Tuesday by the Institute for Politics at Harvard Kennedy School found that nearly 85% of Americans under 30 favor some action, but only 38% are in favor of total debt cancellation. Now, also, I don't know if this is skewed a little bit because, again, I'm a realist, so I'm just kind of looking at things from a realistic point of view. Because we only did this poll only go to people under 30, so then a lot of these, you know, were maybe kids that just got out of college, but only 38% of them favored total debt cancellation. Only 13% said the government should not change its student loan repayment policy. And I do think that college is way, way too expensive. It's just unaffordable for the average everyday American. The survey measured the responses of more than 2,000 US adults between the ages of 18 and 29. Yeah, from March 15th to March 20th. President Biden said on the campaign trail he is willing to forgive at least $10,000 in federal student loan debt per borrower, although he has not yet done so. He has, although, recently extended payment pause, and nobody with federal student loans has had to pay since 2020. He has extended this for his fourth time in his presidency, along with former President Donald Trump, extended it several times as well. Many Democrats, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, have pressured the president to cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt as well. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer tweeted, "We stood together to call on President Biden to extend the pause on student loan payments. Today, he delivered that critical relief to millions of Americans." He said, quote, "And we'll keep standing together for President Biden to use his existing legal authority to cancel student debt by executive order," is what Chuck Schumer is saying. Chuck Schumer believes that he can simply do this by executive order and just signing it with a pen. Biden's latest extension of the repayment freeze includes a bit of additional reprieve for borrowers without cancellation. All student loan borrowers currently in default, which are about 20% of all borrowers, wow, will be given a fresh start once the pause expires. A fresh start would cut off penalties imposed on borrowers that could help them pay their bills and lift their credit scores, an important financial benchmark to secure a mortgage, a car loan, and rental housing. And medical debt is coming off, most medical debt is coming off credit reports here this summer as well. All three credit reports. So there's been a major change here to if you're in default or if you're in delinquency of student loan debt, or if you're in medical debt, that might not be on your credit report either. So, some major changes to both student loan debts and medical debt here coming soon. That's a really good news for tens of millions of people, literally. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts. And also, a lot of Democrats, including Bernie Sanders, are calling to have medical debt forgiven here as well, and other types of debt here as well. Also, remember, 17 or plus million, I'm sorry, $1 billion of student loan debt has already been forgiven just in the past year or so since Biden came into office, a little bit over a year. So, and that's probably just going to continue on. I mean, as the months go by, that counter is just going to keep ticking up. So I will keep you up to date here. And also, here's what Senator Joe Manchin has to say about the new version of the package, the Build Back Better renamed version. Check this out. Senator Joe Manchin says he's working on a new bill, and he says this new bill should focus on inflation and debt reduction. Yeah, so obviously, inflation right now is the big deal, and it's hurting everybody. He says right now that the Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat from West Virginia, said here on Tuesday that any new Democratic budget reconciliation bill, that's how they passed the third stimulus check, the $1,400 stimulus check, the child tax credits, the rent assistance, the mortgage assistance, utility assistance. Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema both said yes to that. And he said any new budget reconciliation bill should be focused on combating inflation and reducing the deficit. So, what this really means is that, well, number one, they want to bring inflation down. Honestly, that's really going to happen on its own. To be honest, if you just study inflation when you come out of recessions, and when the Fed raises interest rates, inflation tends to go down. I mean, we all know inflation doesn't stay high forever. It typically goes up, stays there for a period of time, short period of time. Uh, Couple months to several months, and then comes down. It's similar to that wave we seen from the virus. It's inflation tends to do the same thing. You'll see a spike up of inflation, and it'll come down. It's very common after recessions, because what happens with inflation is when you go into a recession, inflation goes down. Okay, same thing. Ironically, happened with the virus. Um, you see the virus go down, and you see inflation go down during a recession. So typically, like when the country shut down, um, it's kind of ironic how these kind of go hand in hand. But when the United States shut down, I mean, our shutdown wasn't anything like what China's shutdown is right now, where they're like locking people in cages inside their homes. I mean, Lord help them. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But our inflation went down because the price of gas went down, the price of food went down, the price of everything went down because people weren't leaving their homes. People were working from home. The demand for everything. I mean, gas was like a dollar something, right? It was way less than normal. Everything went down. People weren't traveling. I mean, you could get airfare for $50, right? Uh, I mean, airlines couldn't even stay in business. They had to get bailouts from the government. Travel industry, hotel rooms, dirt cheap. Hotel rooms couldn't be given away because nobody was traveling. And you just look at like all sorts of things across the board. In fact, the price of oil at one point actually went negative. It literally, I'll show it to you on the screen because it's unbelievable that you can even say this. Yeah, you can see here on April 20th, 2020, the price of WTI crude contracts, so the contract for the next month, May 2020, dropped 306%, $55.90 for the session to settle at negative $37 a barrel. That's right. So you know how oil's around $100 a barrel right now? Well, at April 20th, 2020, the height of the pandemic, I mean, in some cases, that's when we were shut down basically, or maybe the tail end of it. Oil was negative $37 a barrel. That's why gas was so unbelievably cheap. It was everywhere in the world, right? Oil was negative, negative. You can see the headline here. Oil prices went negative a year ago. I know, it's crazy. Now, if you were an oil speculator, you could have, I know, oil speculator, you could have made a killing, but you would have had to buy it on the market. And the weird thing was back then is that you would have had to actually, because there was actually kind of a run on the market. You think of like a run on the banks. I know a little bit about this because I follow, all these markets and stuff. Um, because of the kind of way that things were, you would have had to actually pay companies to hold your oil. So you would have had to actually pay companies or a ship to hold the oil for you. Where now, like, if you're an oil speculator, you don't really have to do that. But because of the way the market was, yeah, it's kind of weird. But yeah, oil was negative. I know it's crazy, but that's why oil was so cheap, right? And I know that Trump gets a lot of credit for that per se, but oil's global. Like the price of oil was dirt cheap everywhere. So you got to remember that oil's global. So if I was the president at that time, it would have been the same price. That's what people don't. If you watch my show, you realize. I mean, hey, good for Trump. I mean, I don't really care who the president was, but it's because of supply and demand. Inflation went down. Everything kind of works that way. I mean, literally the whole country shut down. Nobody was driving. Everybody was staying at home. I mean, it was a brand new virus. Nobody had any idea what was going on. So people were like, "Hey, is this like Ebola? Is this like the bird flu? Is this like the bubonic plague?" I mean, it was brand new. I mean, especially when the first cases came around, people had no idea. People had no idea what it was like, and here we are now, in year number three, and almost 1 million people have died just in the US and over 6 million people worldwide. And, I get everybody has different opinions on it, but I mean, you can let me know your thoughts on how bad you think it is here in year number three. It's crazy. So Joe Manchin says he wants to combat inflation. Hopefully that means providing relief to Americans, right? Money, stimulus checks. I mean, people that need to eat, people that need to, need money, hopefully. But inflation is going to come down on its own, anyways. But this will help it, right? This will help it. The Fed's raising interest rates. I know that some people don't want the Fed to raise interest rates, but they got to do what they got to do. Remember that banks and Feds around the world are raising interest rates. It's not just the U.S. In fact, the U.S. Fed was one of the last ones to do it. Okay, and reducing the deficit. I'm not really a fan of Joe Manchin wanting to spend the money this way. I would rather them spend the money on the people, and I'll show you why here. So here is the U.S. debt clock, the U.S. debt counter. You can see we're $30 trillion in debt, $30.4 trillion in debt, and you can see it's literally going up here by the minute. Okay, last year we were $29 trillion in debt, and the year before that we were 28 or $27 trillion in debt. Former President Donald Trump added around $8 trillion in debt in 4 years. And Biden is going to probably add $8 trillion in debt in 4 years too. Okay. It's just kind of what it costs to run our country, especially with a pandemic. So here's the thing is that if Joe Manchin wants to take like $200 billion, let's say, and reduce the national debt here, that would be 30.2. He would take off the point 0.2 of the debt here. Okay? Or let's just say he takes off 0.4 here. So he would take the national debt from 30.4 trillion to 30.0 trillion. The problem here is that's going to literally do nothing to the national debt. All it's going to do is take back our national debt for a couple months. A couple months later, it's going to be back to what it is anyways. That's the debt we run up in just a couple months. But on the other hand, that those billions of dollars could be used to send out stimulus checks to send out to poor and low and middle income people. That money could be used for rent and mortgage assistance. That money could be used for food stamps. That money could be used to support children and to support people on Social Security and the VA and SSI, SSDI, survivors, railroad benefits. That money could be used to help the people. Or we could reduce this number, and instead of saying 30.411, it could say 30.211. Would that number affect anybody's day-to-day living? It would not affect anything because this number continues to go up day after day, no matter who the president is. The president could be Trump, the president could be Biden, The president could be the next president, whether it's a Republican or Democrat. This number is going to continue to go up for the rest of our lives. This number is going to always continue to go up. Or we could use that money to help people in need. So, but the problem here is that they got to appease Joe Manchin and they got to appease Kirsten Sinema for this package. So, I don't know. You can let me know your thoughts. The good news is that Joe Manchin's working with them for this next package. He wants to pass this next package, and we'll have to see what's in this package. So, yeah, you can let me know your thoughts here, and um, yeah. So they're going to use some of the money to reduce the debt. I'm not a fan of that. But they're going to use. They also want to reduce, or they want to bring down inflation, which really is a problem. How they do that and what they do that, but we gotta remember here that supporting people is really, who's inflation hurting? It's hurting people and it's hurting our economy and businesses, right? So that's really kind of the important thing that we have to remember here. And we also got to remember that we don't want Joe Manchin to like take credit for this here because inflation is going to go up and come down naturally anyways, just like the virus does. You look at the virus, it has these swings, it goes through its normal curve, and then we have a stationary period, and then we get the next spike, the next wave. Okay, inflation does the same thing. If you look at inflation, if you study inflation, it does the same thing. And I know that some people want to take credit for this, and some people want to blame, this president or that president, and some guys want to take credit, and some guys want to blame other guys. This stuff is pretty normal. It goes in cycles, okay? And when you have a recession, when you have a recession, inflation goes down. It's really really low because countries are, in this case, the country was closed. But when you have a recession, everybody's like, whoa, what's going on? We don't want to spend money. We don't, everything's uncertain. And then when you come out of the recession, people are going back to work. Everybody's like, all right, we're going back to work. We have money. Or people are going back to work. They're getting their jobs, or, they want to get out of the house and they're starting to spend money, or at least the people that, are doing that. And that's when inflation goes back up, or inflation goes back up because people were like, "Well, we have to raise our prices now because of all this stuff." So this is normal. If you study inflation, this is normal. When after a period of inflation being down, the normal thing is inflation goes up to compensate for it. So let me know your thoughts. I'll keep you up to date here. Congress is working on a lot of different things here. And of course, we have all these states working on a lot of different things here as well. It's actually kind of a nice bonus here because we have dozens of states working on stimulus checks and stimulus packages of their own. If you see all these different numbers of different checks, it's because the states are passing all these different checks on their own as well. And I'll keep you up to date here on those as well. So make sure to subscribe down below to our channel. It's completely free to do so. And we got federal stimulus checks. Nancy Pelosi said as well that those are a very real possibility here as well. So make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here on our YouTube channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to watch my newest video next. You can click here to see my newest video on $15 billion of rent assistance, mortgage assistance, and utility assistance. And this bottom video here is about Social Security raises. We just talked about here as well. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.